So, how do you know when you've outgrown your bookkeeper? Today, I'm going to give you an insight into one of the reasons that I've encountered for a business engaging a finance manager. This was a consultancy business, and they had about 12 employees, and they were growing rapidly. They had a lot of big projects, and they were finding themselves relying quite heavily on the support of freelancers and contractors to deliver those big projects. And the founders felt they'd got to the point where the spend on the contractors and freelancers was getting a bit out of control, and they didn't really have a firm grip on how much was being spent. They came to me for my Zero expertise, and they asked me to implement a purchase order system within Zero. However, when we talked through how the process was going to work, it transpired that a purchase order system was not the right mechanism for them and what they were trying to achieve with it. It definitely has its place in some businesses. However, for this business and how they wanted to work, they have a very dynamic relationship with their contractors and freelancers, especially if they're working to client deadlines or responding to client queries. They needed that level of responsiveness in their relationship. And by introducing a purchase order system, they would have just added an extra step in that process, which wouldn't have helped and probably would have just hindered them actually. So instead, I suggested we look at the breakdown in their management accounts of this area of spend and add more detail and analysis to give them that visibility that they were looking for. So this is how their management accounts looked when I started working with them. The spend on freelancers and contractors was held on two lines, which wasn't giving a huge amount of detail and visibility. So afterwards, when I finished working with them, we had broken it down into more categories. We had it in 4 categories, and we kind of created our own definitions on what the different types of spend were and how they wanted it to be sort of shown. And it was this last category in particular, this capacity support sort of bucket of spend, that was the real kind of crux of the issue. It was that was this sort of, oh, everyone else is busy, quick, let's just get somebody in to plug a gap type spend that had really been playing on the minds of the founders. So we isolated that category. We also introduced a new metric down here. This it was the personnel costs as a percentage of the revenue. The personnel costs included the employees, all their additional employment costs, and the contractors and freelancers. So all the people spend in the business. And we were then able to track this metric going forward. And we could model it as well. So if they were considering recruiting to increase their employed staff and reduce that reliance on freelancers, we could then model what this metric was going to look like. So that was really useful insight to them. And all of that sort of resolved the concern that the founders had had around this area of spend. And of course, interestingly, the solution we came to was not the solution that they had proposed in the first place. So I think that gave them that that realization that actually the benefit of having had my financial expertise on this issue. And clearly, in a business that was busy and growing, there were other issues. There were going to be more issues. So again, that was their trigger point for realizing the benefit of having financial expertise on hand in the business going forward. And it was from that point that then we started talking about how to work together on a more permanent basis. So if this situation sounds familiar, this might be a sign that you are also getting to the point with your business where you're outgrowing that year-end accounting and bookkeeping. That alone is possibly not enough anymore. If you're looking for support or help with having more meaningful insights for your business and better decision making, please feel free to reach out. I will put a link in the description below if you'd like to get in touch.